welcome to another episode in Keeping Up with Senior Solutions. This is Joann here from Senior Solutions, the Council on Aging for Southeastern Vermont. And today we have a terrific group of people from the office who are the entire team right now who are overseeing and organizing all of our volunteer visitor programs. So I think I should first introduce our volunteer manager, and that is Victoria Alleman. Victoria, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
I'm hoping that, today, gosh, we have so many volunteer programs because we do have a lot of volunteers, but we always need more, right?
Absolutely.
Victoria oversees the whole entire program. And right now she is especially focusing on the Public Health AmeriCorps program for respite. She also oversees the Senior Companion program, and she has a brand new volunteer program that she'll introduce later in the program. And we have, I'll let her introduce the team, but welcome everybody. Mary, Valerie, Victoria, happy to have you here. And we have one missing person, and that is Patty Crimmen-Greenan, who has been very busy since COVID, taking people on errands and picking things up for them. So she is going to be retiring, and we'll be putting a hold on that program, but we're not putting it totally in the cupboard. All right, thanks. And I hope you'll enjoy hearing about the many ways our volunteer visitors are making the lives of other older Vermonters more comfortable and make their growing older much more successful here in Southeastern Vermont. So Victoria, now that I've spoken for about an hour, want to jump in?
Yes, so I'm Victoria, the volunteer manager. We also have Valerie Stuart with us. She's the volunteer coordinator. And we have Miss Mary Mack, who is my program assistant for the AmeriCorps Public Health Grant.
That's going to be a really valuable program, considering how many people need in-home assistance, and family caregivers are taking on a tremendous burden, and they definitely are going to need a lot of respite.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, so our AmeriCorps respite program, currently we have 3 members that provide the respite to our caregivers, and with a couple more starting. We are, however, trying to get up to 20 members. We would like to be serving 50 families. Right now we're serving 8. So what they do is they provide a break for the caregiver. They go into their homes for a couple hours a week, usually around 3 or 4, and allow the caregiver to do whatever it is that they need to do or rest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That must be a big piece of it, because I know from hearing from all of the different programs and the situation with the acceleration of dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's among the older population, of course, that caregiving is 24/7. They don't get a coffee break. They don't have, a lunch hour. Forget about being able to sleep through the night. It can be extremely draining, and they do it out of love. But, when the caregiver gets really exhausted, it reflects on the loved one that they're caring for. And so we're trying to protect everybody by giving respite, right?
Absolutely. If the caregiver's feeling good, then they're able to provide quality care, for their person, and it helps reduce caregiver burnout, which is a very real thing. And it helps with premature placements of people into, assisted or nursing or memory care units. They're able to age at home longer this way. So the effects that the program has is wide. The net is wide.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that we have Mary to help you with that now. And I know how dynamic she is as one of our board members. She always jumped in with both feet, and she has a good head on her shoulders and lots of energy. So I think that's going to be a big boon to the families that we're hoping to serve. And it sounds really great. You know, our goal is to serve eventually, after the 3 years of this program, we'll be reaching into the homes of 50 families. And that is significant. But how many people are suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's, and how many families across the state need help? But, you know, we're doing what we can. We're putting all our fingers in the dike. And I'm really excited about this program. And I understand that we were the first organization to receive this grant from the AmeriCorps.
Yep, we were the first nationally to receive it.
That's so exciting. And I can't wait. I can't wait to hear the testimonials after the first year.
Yes.
I'm hoping that our caregiving family members are going to really be able to get their lives back.
Yeah, even if it's a small piece, it goes a long way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, now, how can people find out about requesting such a program for their family?
Well, they can call the helpline, Senior Solutions Helpline. I don't have that number handy.
I can give it to you.
Okay.
802-885-2669.
Yes.
I think I know that number better than my own.
Yes. So they can do it that way. If they have a case manager with Senior Solutions, they can go through a case manager. They can also contact me directly. My number is 802-365-1688. Yes.
Good. And I understand if somebody would like to become one of the members of the AmeriCorps to work on this program, they can go into our website and find the portal into the AmeriCorps program, because they have to apply through AmeriCorps, correct?
Yes, they can do that, or they can go to my AmeriCorps, which is AMERICORPS, and apply directly there. Okay.
And I understand that this is a really good program for any age person. You don't have to be an older Vermonter. As long as you're an adult and you'd like to be part of this, what I call the army of volunteers, because they become members and they get trained, they get a lot of support. And if they fulfill their hourly requirement at the end of the year, I believe they get an education bonus of some kind, right? And if they are not planning to go back to school or changing careers and they don't have a use for it, they can pass that on to their child or grandchild. So, you know, this works for everybody, and they get a pretty nice stipend, and they become part of a very vital group of people who are doing a lot of great work all over this country. Absolutely. So I encourage people to volunteer.
Yes, so do I.
Yeah, we want to see that roster of 20 AmeriCorps members fill up quickly.
Yes.
So I think it's exciting, and I can't wait to find out, you know, some of the good results that you get from this. Thank you.
Yes.
So let me ask Valerie.
Sure.
I remember back in the day when you first started, you were so anxious because we had you help down in Brattleboro. You were, you know, you were the first line of defense for the vet-to-vet visitor program.
Right.
And want to tell us a little bit about it and how you got involved?
Oh, sure. Well, I got involved actually as a volunteer initially, and I was a friendly visitor for not that long, because my lady moved away, my friend who I was matched with, who I really enjoyed. going out to lunch with and having a cup of coffee and chatting and that sort of thing. She moved away, so we ultimately matched her with someone who was more in her area. But at any rate, right about that time, Vicki Mastriani, the former director of this program, drafted me, and
Thank goodness.
right. Well, yeah, there was a lot to do. I mean, the Vet to Vet program had been initiated about a year prior, so we were getting that going. Vicki and I worked for, I don't even know how many months on the AmeriCorps grant. That is what funded this program that Victoria was talking about, that, was the thing that it enabled us to initiate the program. And that was just a really, as Victoria can say now that she's administering the grant, just every bit of it is kind of complicated because it's a government run program and there are a lot of, I's to dot and T's to cross. But at any rate, and we were growing the friendly visitor program. So Vicki hired me part-time as a volunteer coordinator to help her expand the program. I primarily focused on Windham County and she primarily focused on Windsor County. And, we each did the matching of volunteers with clients or the people we call recipients in those two counties. So,
Nice.
the program has grown by leaps and bounds. With the Vet to Vet program is a program that matches veterans with fellow veterans in their community. Keeps them connected to the military service community. So that's one of our programs. And the other program is the Friendly Visitor program, which, much like the Vet to Vet program, is about providing companionship and support to older people in Vermont, in Windham and Windsor counties who, probably likely live alone or spend a lot of time alone and need companionship and camaraderie. So those two,
it's so important, as we all really understand by now, especially after we went through COVID and isolation ourselves. We do kind of get it that as you age and you're not so mobile, or perhaps you have like macular degeneration and you shouldn't drive anymore, you sit at home. And when you sit at home, you lose touch with your community, your friends.
Yeah.
So having a friendly visitor or a vet to vet visitor or a senior companion, anybody that you can relate to face in person, is so important to our mental and physical health. And people have responded to these programs like we just can't get enough of them. You know what I'm saying?
The volunteers, for sure.
Oh my goodness. And we have a good team.
We have a great team of 50 volunteers. I mean, really great people who, during the last year served over like 5,600 hours, provided services through.
That's right. I read that in our annual report. It was very impressive. So everybody out there, if you haven't had a copy of our annual report, we'll be happy to mail it to you. If you want to give us a call at 802-885-2669 and just say, I'm interested in some of your programs. Could you mail me your annual report? And you'll learn all about some of this. But beyond that, I just want to stress the Vet to Vet program, I think, is especially important because veterans love to help. Veterans don't see themselves as needing to be helped.
Right.
So they're very reticent to have just a regular, like people like us, sign up to visit with them because we didn't go through boot camp. Right. We didn't go through the military protocols. And the Vet to Vet program is just like an expansion of the buddy system in boot camp.
Yes.
And
exactly.
People can volunteer or be a recipient. They don't have to have been in a war. They don't have to have seen any action.
No.
You could be a man, a woman, or anything. And there's no limitation. Just have served in the National Guard, the Navy, the Army, who cares? You're a vet, and vets are here and caring for each other. And I love that concept. And I think that for you, it hits home.
Yeah. Me?
Yeah,
Oh, because my daughter's a veteran. My
that's
daughter and my
right.
son-in-law are both veterans. They served in the Army. They left the Army as captains. And yeah, they're just extraordinary people who, to this day, want to do good in the world. My daughter works for Vermont Legal Aid, and my son-in-law works at Dartmouth for the Center for what is it? Center for Social Advancement.
Nice.
Yes, which basically has internship programs that allow Dartmouth students to work at NGOs and other businesses that, do good things in the world. So they're both mission driven, like a lot of vets are. And,
That's
their
right.
need continues.
They're fine examples of our veterans here in Vermont. And
Exactly.
with that in mind, friendly visitors. Let's go into a little more detail on the friendly visitors.
Yeah, so the friendly visitors, I mean, we have some really great people. It's kind of, when I first started with this program, I was always amazed at how well in 9 out of 10 cases it works. You find two people, you hope that they have some overlapping interests, but even if they don't, during your initial interview with both of them, and then I try to match them with complementary people, they always find things that they have in common. And, some of these friendships are just amazing. They really help both parties. Our volunteers, some of them are lonely too. So it works well for both parties to be connected, and they become friends. Some of them they've been friends for a long, long time. And it's really great to see. And they do anything that a friend would do, together, whether it's take a walk, go for lunch,
a lot of them, I've seen pictures and talked to a lot of the volunteers.
Sure.
Some of the guys have, gone hiking, gone fishing.
Yes.
And whatever your interest is, and it can change from, week to week and season to season. It really is a friendship forming experience. I love it. I just love it.
Yeah, it's just really great. We usually match people within a geographic area or distance that's comfortable for them. And, we find out about that before we match them. And it's really wonderful to see these friendships develop and blossom.
Yeah, thanks, Valerie. I'm going to circle back now to Victoria, but Mary, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying not to put you on the spot. But see, I feel like you, Mary, have become the ultimate volunteer. So I want to thank you. And Victoria, would you like to tell us a little bit more about the Senior Companion Program?
Yeah, so it looks a lot like the Friendly Visitor Program. It can provide transportation and companionship and respite, though we usually do most of the respite through the AmeriCorps program now. But it's a companionship program. The difference between the Friendly Visitor and the Senior Companion Program is the volunteer in the Senior Companion Program gets a small stipend. That just actually went up April 1st. And
right.
It did.
That's exciting, because you were telling me about it. And I went to the statewide meeting last week, and they were talking about, the uptick in the stipend and the uptick in the mileage reimbursement.
Yep.
So that's exciting.
Yep. So to be a volunteer in that program, you have to be lower income. We're Friendly Visitor. We don't look at any of those things. But it's one of our older volunteer programs with Senior Solutions. 5, 6, maybe 7 years old.
Actually, you know what, Victoria? Howie Peterson just told me, and I was shocked. He's been with the Senior Companion Program for 11 years.
Oh,
I thought it had not been that long either. But anyway,
that's amazing. Wow.
So Isn't that amazing? We're going to
Yeah.
recognize our volunteers soon for their service. And so I'm asking people how long they've been with us. And that was his answer. So
Wow.
long time. Wow.
Oh, I mean, that's even better. So it is our oldest
Absolutely.
volunteer program then with Senior Solutions. Yeah, and they get a stipend, they get mileage reimbursement. It's a great program. It's another way to help people age in their home or wherever, if that's what they want to do.
That's really nice, because you're right. We don't legislate or tell people what they need to do. All we do is provide the framework and the support system, and the individuals who are participating in the volunteer visitor programs work out with their companion or their recipient what activities best suits them. So it's a really, client or person driven relationship. It's not a program where we tell you what the curriculum is and what you have to do. And with that in mind, we do have support meetings. And I know that you guys, and I'm just going to be a fly on the wall, you guys are dreaming up a very nice volunteer recognition event for the spring. And, we really appreciate the work that they do. It's really difficult to explain how much of a benefit the volunteers receive. They get as much out of it as the people they visit. So I think that's really important. Yeah. And the other thing is, how do we get people to volunteer? What do they do? Do they call the helpline and say, I'd like to be a senior companion, I'd like to be a friendly visitor? I almost forgot, excuse me, I almost forgot to say, anybody listening to this can go onto our website, which is www.seniorsolutionsvt.org, and you can go into the volunteer visitor section and read some of the details about these programs, and then you can give us a call and volunteer, because you'll know what you're getting into.
Or the helpline, and the helpline can direct you. Then the helpline will direct you to me and Victoria, and then we'll, help get you started on the application and a background check and a DMV check if you want to drive your person places. And, after those come in and clear, we'll give you an orientation, have you read our handbook, things like that, and get you all set up. It's a very simple process. It doesn't take much time. It's very easy on the volunteers. And we pay all our volunteers mileage door to door. So that's a plus. Our volunteers aren't out of pocket for the mileage, although a lot of our volunteers are very generous. They don't submit mileage. They see it as part of their donation, but we are more than glad to pay the mileage. But at any rate,
that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And I think that making them realize how much we appreciate them goes a long way, because they are very giving people, and they're fun.
Absolutely.
I tell this story all the time. Several years ago, we did an appreciation for the volunteers, the fall foliage ride from Chester to Ludlow on the train.
Yep.
And we're having a great time, sitting in the car, everybody's talking to each other, telling stories, laughing, giggling, everything, until the conductor had to come into the car and say, excuse me, people, I wonder if you could keep it down. The rest of the train can't hear what the engineer's telling them to look at out the windows. And I thought that was hilarious, because I felt like at that point, the age barriers had completely dissolved. It was like being on a road trip with a bunch of teenagers who were just having a fantastic time. And that's all you want. You want your volunteers to really feel loved, engaged, and needed. So we have thanks to Victoria, we have a brand new volunteer program on the horizon. Would you like to tell us about it, Victoria?
Yeah, so it'll be hopefully starting July 1st. it's just dependent on when I can hire my Vista. It's another AmeriCorps program, but it's set to launch July 1st, and it's an intergenerational program. We will be developing relationships with the local junior highs and high schools. And I know that a lot of them require community service hours. So that's sort of what sparked this. But what also sparked it was we get a lot of phone calls for tasks that we're not able to really help with. We just don't have volunteers to, such as raking leaves, shoveling snow, changing light bulbs, programming a phone, these sorts of things. So the teens will be able to help out in one of three capacities. They can either field some of these calls where they are helping seniors with just tasks that we don't have a volunteer to do, such as, take out the trash weekly. It can be any of those sorts of things that we sort of take for granted, but make a big difference when someone is trying to age in their home.
Yeah, that's true.
So they can do that. Yeah. They can also help out at our memory cafes, visiting with the caregivers and recipients, just whatever tasks that we need them to do at that time at the memory cafe. Or it can be more of a companionship type of role. And I'm currently been developing partnerships with businesses and people in the community that might provide fun little classes for the senior and the teen to do together. So I have an artist in Chester that's interested in doing like a monthly art class. I have a instructor in Springfield that's going to do chair yoga once every other month for any teens and seniors that want to do it together. And I'm looking for more opportunities like that if anyone knows or wants to do that. They can visit. They can visit at their homes, but they can do these little fun classes too.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea because the two, the different age groups can inspire each other. I also like it because as you get older, I hate to say it, but you can't bend over as far anymore, or you can bend down, but you can't get up. So there's lots of little things around your house, around your grounds that are not, onerous tasks, but you just can't stretch or bend to do them. And when you see a teenager say, "Oh yeah, that's easy," and vice versa, teenagers have a lot of questions, and teenagers learn a lot by role modeling. So if they see that, say the chair yoga, if they see that somebody 75 is willing to go try chair yoga, they can see that there are activities they can do now as teenagers that they'll be able to continue along life's continuum, and that they don't need to be afraid to grow older.
Yeah, and that's important. And a couple other effects that I'm hoping will naturally come out of it is, I'm going to be looking to, if the program gets big enough, kids that want to go in the military, maybe have them set them up with a vet, as like a natural sort of companionship role, but as a mentorship too. I'm hoping, or if you look at research on intergenerational projects, one thing that is shown to be a huge benefit that comes out of it is looking at ageism. And, if you start people out young, kids, teenagers, and you're molding their impressions of seniors in a way that they didn't expect, or more positively, or just developing more compassion, that helps, that becomes part of who they are.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree with that, because it's almost like getting a virtual grandparent.
Yeah.
And in a way, today, society is very mobile, and a lot of us don't live near our grandparents. And a lot of our kids moved out of state to get really big jobs, and so your grandchildren are not around the corner, so you don't get to spend time with them, and that still the kids miss out on those close relationships. And having somebody in their lives who are actively engaged with them, even though they're probably 50 years older, I think it has a lot of great benefits for both parties. Yeah, I'm very excited about this.
Me too. Because we think about the benefits to the senior, but there's the benefits to the teen is really exciting to see.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's mentorship or development of more compassion, or advice, or learning a skill, or confidence building. I mean, there's just so many things that can come out of it. So I'm really excited to start it.
Yeah, and I think it's also valuable that they have a constant positive adult in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So this program has just almost uncountable benefits, and I can't wait for it to start.
Yeah, me either. I'm excited.
Yeah. Hey, Mary, as you've been listening to everybody, do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
You know me and questions. You know that I can ask questions to beat the band. No, I'm taking notes and I'm learning a lot. And it's very helpful to me just to hear all the information, and for me to learn what opportunities Senior Solutions has for both people in home as well as the caregivers. When I went to the Memory Cafe last month, what a eye-opening experience for me. Plus, I, as usual, take my knitting with me, and it was fascinating to see both the caregivers and the members just watching me knit, and a couple of them came up to me and said, "Can you teach us how to do that?" Hey, I can teach anybody anything. So, well, that might be a respite and something that can give the caregivers a release too, because just for me, sometimes knitting for a half an hour at night just makes me relax. So I enjoy hearing what both Victoria and Valerie are doing, because it helps me to know where I can expand my help to them. And the more I can do that, well, how the the website went back in the day. So yeah, there we go.
Well, it sounds to me like not only are we going to have chair yoga and all these other things, sounds like a knitting class is on the horizon.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I have way too many years of doing that.
Well, maybe that's something I'll have you do, Mary, with the teens and some of the seniors who are interested.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Joann, just so viewers know, I'd just like to mention that the memory cafes are held every the fourth Monday of the month at the American Legion. And it would be great if people would call the helpline, that same number, 802-885-2669, and just say that they would like to come to the Memory Cafe with their loved one. And just a quick description of what the Memory Cafe is, because we haven't given one, is it's a place where caregivers can bring their loved ones from 11 to 1 that fourth Monday of the month. They come to the American Legion, they bring a bag lunch, and then caregivers sit together and have a support group. Sometimes we have a speaker, and the loved ones sit at another table, and we have some wonderful volunteers who engage them in activities. And then that's from 11 to 1, 11 to 12. At 12, we have our lunch and continue on with the support group or speaker and the activities for the loved ones. And both people get a lot out of it, you know, the caregiver and the loved one. It's really a nice break for the caregiver. They can bring their loved one somewhere and not feel self-conscious about their loved one's cognitive impairment or disorder and that sort of thing. And gives everybody a nice break. The loved ones like it because they too get to socialize. Socializing is really important also for people with dementia. It does keep them possibly from advancing more rapidly, you know, and that sort of thing.
That's a good point. Very good point, Val.
Yeah, it's a win-win for everybody. It really is.
And that's held at the American Legion in Brattleboro, correct?
American Legion in Brattleboro. It's
Good.
free, 11 to 1. And just bring a bag lunch. And, you know, a lot of times the caregivers, I mean, we have speakers and they like that, but a lot of times they just like trading notes and leaning on each other and, you know, sharing and sympathizing with each other because they're all dealing with something that's pretty difficult. And we do have, by the way, viewers, caregivers who come alone. They maybe don't bring their loved one for a number of reasons, but at any rate, the caregiver can come alone if they so choose. So
yes, you're right. It's a very welcoming and non-judgmental environment.
Yeah.
And because we have staff and volunteers, there's a lot of eyes to make sure that the caregiver doesn't have to keep, you know, vigilantly watching their loved one. There are other adults in the room who are going to make sure they're safe.
Exactly. And we have one caregiver who comes regularly and her loved one is in an assisted living facility, but you know, that's a lot to cope with, you know, going to visit him, you know, he doesn't recognize her and he doesn't know her anymore. And that's a really sad thing to be left alone with. So sympathetic ear is always appreciated by the caregivers, I think.
Everybody needs a support group.
Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah. You know? And one really nice aspect of it, Victoria and Mary and I are always there, but we have these great volunteers, Walter Stover, who's one of our stellar 80-year-old veterans who just can't do enough to support others. And he comes each month. And we have Reverend Janice, and she plays guitar each month, which is really lovely. People enjoy it a lot. Music is therapy for all of us in many ways, and people can sing along. So that's really a sweet addition to every Memory Cafe. Reverend Janice is there and serenades people and has them serenade along with her.
That's wonderful. Yeah. I can't thank you guys enough for putting so much time and thought and energy into developing these programs and for continuing to support the volunteers and recruit new ones. So everybody out there, if you're a caregiver and you need some support, get in touch. If you have a loved one that you feel would benefit from, you know, going to a Memory Cafe, whatever the case is, don't sit at home and worry about it. You call our helpline, 802-885-2669, and let us figure out how we can help. Okay?
And Joann, just so viewers know also, we have monthly virtual in-service meetings. They're educational meetings, or maybe we have them every other month now. But at any rate, so our volunteers attend and they learn about things that are germane to their role as a volunteer. So Excellent. It's education to help them be a better volunteer or to deal with an issue they don't really know how to deal with and that sort of thing. And then obviously, Victoria and I and Mary are always there if volunteers need support or have a question or want to know what, you know, their role is in a certain situation.
That's wonderful. I'm going to tell everybody out there, you couldn't ask for a better support group than Victoria, Valerie, and Mary. And want to make sure I reach out to Patty Crimmin Greenan, who is retiring from our errands and deliveries and things like that. We're going to miss her. She's been fantastic. And
Great
as soon
job.
as we regroup and can reactivate that program, we will, and we'll let everybody know. And stay tuned for not only all the existing programs, but for the new intergenerational visitor program. So I want to thank all three of you very much. I mean, it's been a real pleasure. I hope I didn't, push you too far or overtalk you or anything. It's just, these programs get me so excited. I'm so thrilled that we can do it. And I do really admire our volunteers a lot, and want to thank them personally. So, ladies, I'm going to say goodbye. Is there anybody who needs to say anything before we go?
Thank you,
We're all-
Joanne, for having us, and thank you for
Yes.
always promoting our programs and senior solutions and our need for volunteers and for all the stellar work you do.
Well,
Yes.
it's like everybody else at Senior Solutions, it's a labor of love. And I don't do much, I just talk. But boy, is it nice to talk about you guys and the volunteers. So thank you. And to everybody out there, see you again with another program. Stay tuned and try to keep up with Senior Solutions. Thank you. Bye now.